Max Verstappen to replace Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari. Attractive scenario tease. Well, that's just crazy and bizarre. That's not going to happen. Red Bull in turmoil. Red Bull action plan official in works to conquer the RB21 woes. The RB21 woes. Well, they said he could win in a Haas. They said he can win in any vehicle. You know, he can win the championship. He can win anything in any vehicle. And he's here with the fourth fastest car. I'm sure if Max Verstappen will be fine with the fourth fastest car because, apparently he can walk on water. Apparently he does no wrong, apparently so. So Verstappen cuts a frustrated figure at Bahrain weekend where reigning world champion pace was hampered by balance and brake issues. No asymmetric cheating brake system that you were allowed to keep for so bloody long, huh? The tides are shifting. When the sails are out, you row. And I wonder if Red Bull can figure that one out. That's it. That is it. We've seen a team such as McLaren come from being a midfield team, and McLaren has been working on their little progression for quite some time. I don't need to remind you, we've been seeing McLaren making steady progress ever since Fernando Alonso left. I don't know how that works. When he goes to a team, they go down in performance. When he leaves, they recover. Wonderful, wonderful by Fernando Alonso. If Aston Martin wants to do well, get rid of Alonso. Promise them that will fix the bloody problem. Alonso's never been the kind of guy that to leave teams, and just to be at teams and to really help them. He's never been that kind of driver. Never. If anything, he goes to a team, they're struggling, and he allows them to struggle even more. And that continues to repeat in his career consistently. And I'm not afraid to call it out. So yeah, no more, asymmetric braking, solutions for the Red Bull, because yeah, the tides are changing, which means that new teams are rising to the top. And Verstappen doesn't have much to worry about because he can always seek opportunities at, I was about to say Ferrari, but perhaps after Lewis retires. But even now, I'm not saying he won't inquire to Ferrari. They're all inquiring to each other. That's just business. But I'd say the likelihood he's more interested in a team that can be his own team. He doesn't want to share a team with Charles. He doesn't want to go to Mercedes, share a team with Russell, or even an Antonelli. Antonelli's too fast for Verstappen. He don't want to share a team with anyone who's that quick. If he's given no option, he might try. But I think the obvious choice is he's got that eye on Aston Martin. And that is really a team that is ready to allow him to. Verstappen will bow to you, will do whatever you want. That's the type of team him and his family requires. And by the way, we heard that Verstappen and his parents, well, his parent, Jos Verstappen, apparently they got into a shouting competition with the Red Bull team. Apparently they were furious. Oh, I'm loving this. I'm absolutely fucking loving this. But that's just the type of thing they get away with, isn't it? Call it what you will. If this brown man was doing the same thing, it would be a different story. In fact, if any driver who was brown, black, Japanese, behaving like Verstappen does, oh my goodness, it would be the end of the world. It's kind of like how. Actually, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. That might be a little bit too controversial. But, just some people just get away with certain things, don't they? And I think that's fair to see with the behavior they carry out. I don't care how much you love Verstappen, you got to admit his behavior and his father's behavior at times is appalling. It is absolutely disrespectful and disgusting. Why can't they be like the Hamiltons? You see how Hamilton and his father handle situations. Even the worst situation, Abu Dhabi 21. If you're a Verstappen fan, say what you will. Say whatever you want to say. But you got to admit, the Hamiltons handled that with class, professionalism. He didn't immediately come out and basically saying, well, that's not a good title for Verstappen. That's not a legal title for Verstappen. Said nothing. He just disagreed with how the race was ended and he think that was unfair and manipulated. That's fair to say. Even if you're a strong Verstappen fan, you have to agree with most of this. Verstappen and his father, they're bullies. And I'm convinced that the entire family might be bullies. And I'm convinced that the people that they attract are also bullies, such as Kelly Piquet and her family. Well, they're not just bullies, they're also racist. Kelly Piquet is a big racist. Let's not forget about that Spotify playlist. Let's not forget about her disgusting father, who is somehow still allowed to come to the paddock. I thought that motherfucker was banned. But typically in F1, they do a little bit of damage control, but they never stick to anything, do they? So what a week for the Verstappens, what a week for Red Bull. It's fair to say that if this, I don't think this will continue for too long. I think they will catch, I think this is more of a one-off experience. I think as we go to different tracks, we will see more performance from that Red Bull. It's not the first time we've seen lackluster performance from the Red Bull. Remember China? That was lackluster. That was quite terrible. What we've definitely seen from the Red Bull is that if Verstappen is able to get it in a good qualifying position on a track where overtaking is not the best, he can hold positions, you know? I suspect we're going to see more of that. We're also going to see the Red Bull being able to compete more with the Ferrari and with the Mercedes. But to compete with a McLaren, just forget about it. McLaren in a completely different league. Unless Red Bull was able to develop this current Red Bull in an unprecedented fashion, giving Verstappen the opportunity to truly compete for that title this year. And if he does compete for it, I mean, the funny thing is, to them, because Verstappen is better than Norris, Verstappen is better than Oscar. To them, they're thinking they don't need the car to be as good as the McLaren. They just need it to be, good enough, 1 to 2 tenths away, and let Verstappen take care of the rest. That's what they're thinking. But we're also going to see a lot of dangerous driving behavior from Verstappen. We saw that a lot whenever another driver fights him for a title. You've seen that so many times in, 2021, where Lewis clearly had the faster car on pace, faster driver on pace also. Going for the overtake, Verstappen would just drive him off track. And he would do that over and over and over and over and over and over again. And most of the time get away with it because the FIA are too, scared to do anything. They're terrified of him and his father. There's more to that. We're not going to really focus on that too much, but there's just so much with that family and that team that is just so problematic and embarrassing that they can't even do 4 races with a little bit of challenges. Imagine doing an entire year or 2 years or 3 years with that kind of challenge. You can't. So them going to Aston Martin where, Adrian Newey is building that car for Verstappen, yeah, they're building a car for Verstappen, and that car is going to be a bloody, monstrous nightmare. Not to mention Honda is coming back for the engine with, get this, Aston Martin. They're going to be insanely dominant. And the only one I think is fully equipped to stop them is Mercedes. I think, Ferrari will be there or thereabouts, but it's mostly Mercedes that could stop, Aston Martin. Mark my words, it's, for the next few years, it's going to be George Russell and Max Verstappen fighting for the entire bloody year, for the entire bloody decade. Forget about it. George leading the Mercedes at the helm, Max Verstappen with a team dedicated to him. Oh my goodness. That's going to be insane. It's gonna be insane. We're basically gonna have Senna versus Prost or Senna versus Schumacher. It's gonna be insane with Verstappen and Russell. Martin Brundle, the hypocritical Martin Brundle, reveals George Russell concern amid Verstappen speculation. The way George Russell is racing right now, I don't think Mercedes are allowed to even get rid of him. The way that guy's racing right now, I don't think basically the way he's racing right now is what Verstappen fans have been saying Verstappen has been doing. That's what they've been saying. They've been saying, oh, he's getting a tractor on second, third, first. It's basically what George is doing as well. Was George had like three podiums now or something like that? It's insane. Neither of them are driving a tractor. But the performance that George is able to deliver from his vehicle are very similar to the kind of performance that Max Verstappen has been able to deliver. And it's been a while coming. It's been a while coming, as as George Russell continues to climb and climb and get better and better and better. So I'm telling you, he's ready. He is ready. So when he gets the car, oh my goodness. I'm telling you, him and Verstappen. So I don't think there's any chance Mercedes are not going to sign him. Now, I've heard rumors of a 2 years deal. I've heard rumors of George getting a 2 years deal. Honestly, give the guy a 3 years deal. I never saw the doubt. Yes, George always made the odd mistake here or there. Yes, he always, have little lacking race pace compared to Lewis Hamilton, but who doesn't? But what Mercedes and Toto wasn't certain of is if George can have the capabilities to compete against a Verstappen. Because the only drivers on the grid who was able to do that was Lewis and Charles at times. Now we know Russell is ready to do that also. And it was always in everyone's opinion, most people's opinion, just stick with George, stick with Antonelli. I always said the reason why Toto was flirting with the idea of signing Max was mostly to piss off Christian Horner. You gotta remember now, 2024, he had some controversy that came out. And it's not gone away yet. It is not gone away yet. It's actually in a court. It's in court right now in the Netherlands, I believe. Is it in the Netherlands? I think so. It is not really gone away. And the victim wants justice instead of just a fat check and a huge payout. They want blood. And I think Toto did not appreciate that at all. Christian Ono has always been the one who's throwing jabs at Toto and other people. And strong evidence comes out against him that, it's clear to everyone he was harassing his personal assistant with signs of sexual desires. Sexual harassment, not physical, but sexual harassment of his assistant. I don't think Toto appreciated that at all. When you're a man who doesn't stand for that kind of thing against, happening to females or anyone, it's insulting to you that another man, like Christian, who always, picks on everyone else, is actually turns out to be the biggest disgusting piece of shit you can ever find. Oh yeah, at that point it's almost like, okay, Toto was out for blood. Toto was like, he wanted to get Christian at every corner. I'm telling you, if this was in the real world, I think Toto would have knocked out Christian Horner by now. I am telling you straight up. Well, you look at the size of them. I don't think it would have been any the fight wouldn't have lasted for long. I think Christian would have been fucked up because he's pissed off Toto Wolff quite a few times. But I'm telling you, so Toto was mostly trying to get back at Christian Horner, by flirting with the idea of signing Max. And he was basically flirting with the idea that even if I don't get him, he's not going to stay with you, Christian, for too long because your team is going down, your ship is sinking, and there's not much to hold on to. If he doesn't sign with me, everyone's leaving your team. The big dude is leaving your team. If he doesn't sign with me, yeah, he's signing with someone else. So I think Toto was mostly doing it to just, piss off Christian Horner. And that really showed proof. But yeah, there's rumors that, it could still happen where George could still be replaced by Max. I don't think so. I don't think so. You can't just fire a driver who's getting you great results. I don't know about the relationship that George has with Mercedes, but he probably have in his contract what he had was the same thing that Lewis had, was like a 1+1, so Mercedes and him could say no. But because George is performing so well, any team would be happy to have him. And I tell Toto one thing, and I think Mercedes know, it's better to have George on your side than not on your side. And if you are going to replace George, yes, it would be with Max, but the problem is Max family. They come with a lot of drama and a lot of high expectations. I don't think Toto would allow for a second that Joss to go into his environment like the way Joss likes to handle and control an environment. Toto is very much a kind of guy like, yeah, you don't come fucking with me. It's like Toto has that team all wrapped around his fingers. Toto has that team fully in the palm of his hands. He's not about to make, the Verstappen family comes in and make any commands or any kind of control. So I think Toto definitely had some regrets not signing Max sooner. But the thing is that Toto's forgetting, okay, if you did sign Max sooner, how would it have made any difference to the last 10 years? It wouldn't. All of the championships were being won by Mercedes up until they created a bad car in 2022. That's when they lost their first constructor title. That was like, they won 8 titles straight or something crazy like that. Or was it 8 or 9 titles? I don't remember exactly, but it's insane. Or was it 7? I can't even remember how many titles they won straight, but they won a few titles just straight in a row. And it was incredible. So would Verstappen have made any difference there? No. You had a Rosberg, you had a Hamilton. After Rosberg retired, you still had an Hamilton. Verstappen wouldn't have made any difference there. So does he feel some... So Toto was acting like he wanted it all, but you can't have it all. And Toto seeming to forget the more important thing. The key is to have the best car. The best drivers will automatically be attracted to your team, regardless. In fact, often if you have the best car, the best driver will often want to drive it for free. Often, they will sometimes pay you to allow them to drive the fucking car if you have the best car. How many drivers, Formula 1 drivers, you know right now, if McLaren says, hey guys, listen, we're getting rid of Norris and Oscar. Who wants to drive our car, but you get to drive it for free? But you know what? You get the best chance to win that title. Every single Formula 1 driver on the grid would accept to drive the McLaren for free. Why? Because you have the best car. The best car attracts the best drivers. Mercedes hasn't had the best car since 2020. Some people say in 2021 they had the best car, but I don't think so. Because what are you trying to say? Where exactly was that Red Bull? That Red Bull was incredible. The engine was incredible. The aerodynamics of that vehicle and the engineering behind that vehicle and the downforce it produced was impeccable. But yeah, best car attracts the best drivers. But listen, this is where we'll end this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to see more. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the burning ship that is Red Bull and the ideas that Max Verstappen could either replace Lewis Hamilton or George Russell. That's insane. So we'll leave it at that, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.